Alright guys, what's going on? Welcome in. In this one, I wanted to break down Mel Kiper's mock draft, right? He just dropped his first mock draft of the offseason. Let's not waste any time. Let's jump right in. He has the Jets at spot number 13, selecting wide receiver from Ohio State, Jaxson Smith-Njigba. He said, "I'm a big fan of Smith-Njigba. I think he could be a star in the right situation. New York will likely have a new starting quarterback in 2023, and that passer will have to get support around him. This offense has a chance to be much improved. The Jets had a stellar draft last year. Smith-Njigba would be a great start for this one. Yes, I know this makes back-to-back top 15 picks on receivers for the Jets, but Smith-Njigba is worth it because of what he and Wilson can do together." So we look at Smith-Njigba as a prospect, and it's not a stretch to say that you can make the argument that Smith-Njigba is the best wide receiver in the class. Personally, I do really like Quentin Johnston from TCU. So much fun to watch, but I mean, Smith-Njigba, when you look at just a route running ability, it is so good. He can snap off great routes. He could separate from tight coverage. He could beat man zone. This guy gets open. In fact, in 2021, he had 95 catches, over 1,600 receiving yards with 9 touchdowns to go along with it. And what's even crazier is that he was the wide receiver 3 on that 2021 team, behind Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave, 2 of the best young wide receivers in the National Football League. But yet Smith-Njigba racked up more catches and racked up more yards. Now, look, of course, great overall team around him. From a defensive standpoint, you can say, how can we stop all these guys, especially with CJ Stroud? In my opinion, my favorite quarterback in this draft. If he's throwing you the football, of course the numbers are going to be high, but JSN really projects well. I love how he doesn't go down on first contact. He's 6 foot, 195. He tracks the ball, right? He can identify the football in the air, especially in the deep parts of the field, right? So that vertical passing attack, Smith-Njigba can really have a lot of success. There is a downside though. There was a lot of time missed. In fact, he only played in 3 games this past season due to injuries popping up. And Dane Brugler from The Athletic actually said that JSN skipping the Peach Bowl was actually the right move because he could potentially create major damage if he pushed himself. But then Todd McShay came out and said that scouts told him that Smith-Njigba was healthy enough to play, but that rubbed him and his family the wrong way. So definitely a weird situation there. But all in all, you're looking at JSN as a prospect, really good, really talented, projects well to the NFL level. Of course, we can't talk about system fit and all that kind of stuff. We don't know who the OC is at this point, but I'll say this: when you look at how the Jets are constructed right now, wide receiver is not the Jets' biggest need. Now, look, of course, you don't enter the NFL draft with the mindset of team need and that's it, right? Of course, you're looking at best overall player. You're looking at who's on the board. Where do these guys compare to other classes, past classes, future classes? It's not just, like, for example, wide receiver 1 in one class might not be at the same caliber as another in next year's class or, a previous year. That's totally valid. When I'm looking at Smith-Njigba with the New York Jets, although he would provide a massive impact, he would definitely be an upgrade at the position. And watching him and his former teammate Wilson just grow together throughout the years. I mean, all of a sudden you have your wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2. If Elijah Moore doesn't get moved, and assuming he's happy with the OC and everything goes well with that situation, all of a sudden you're looking at 3 young wide receivers for the foreseeable future with a star veteran quarterback coming in the building. That is really exciting. But again, we have free agency to go through. There are trade candidates out there at the wide receiver position. Do the Jets want to invest a top 15 draft pick in a position that they are already pretty good with, right? And there's a chance that the team could cut Corey Davis. If I was running the team, I think I would, because of the cap hit. You could save millions of dollars there, which in turn would help acquire one of these quarterbacks. It would take some of the cap pressure off. But even with Davis gone, I still think it's a smart idea to invest in the offensive line because there's so many questions there. We saw it completely crumble and fall apart towards the back half of the year, specifically during the losing streak in January and December. I mean, it fell apart. Run blocking, completely non-existent. We're looking at injured players. We're looking at guys coming back, trying to project, will they look like the same player? Connor McGovern's a free agent. Nate Herbig's a free agent. Dan Feeney's a free agent. George Fant is a free agent. Mekhi Becton, what's going on with that situation? AVT, he's coming back from a season-ending tricep injury. So it's like, man, there's a lot of question marks here. A lot of question marks on the O-line. And we all know as football fans, if you don't have a solid and average offensive line, your quarterback is going to get hit a lot. The last thing I want to happen is the Jets to go land Aaron Rodgers and nobody can block for him and he gets hurt or he breaks down prematurely. Derek Carr gets in the building and all of a sudden starts missing games for like the first time in his career. I mean, the one thing with Derek Carr, durable, stable, reliable. You can count on Derek Carr to play in games on Sunday. He's going to show up. But if he's being rushed, if the run game isn't really there, can't really get going because there's no holes being opened up, I think that could be a major problem. Again, you don't just draft players with the sole focus of what do we need, but it's a big part. Right, it's a big part. And, you know, where the Jets are picking right now, spot number 13, you could land a really good offensive lineman. Whether you're talking about a Paris Johnson Jr. from a tackle from Ohio State, Broderick Jones, tackle from Georgia, Peter Skoronski, I don't think he's going to fall to 13, but he's probably my favorite tackle. He's just a ton of fun to watch. Even Osiris Torrance, the guard slash tackle from Florida, I think could make sense if you want to take AVT and maybe continue playing him at the tackle position, because then Torrance can just slide immediately in to guard. Right, and now all of a sudden you just have to figure out what's going on with center. Do you bring McGovern back? Do you maybe try to upgrade in free agency if the Jets even have the money and the funds to do so? So it's definitely a weird spot. Also factoring in what's happening with safety, maybe strong side linebacker, depending on how much Quincy Williams wants, because he's set to hit the open market. Quan Alexander at weak side, set to hit the open market. So there's a lot of holes here. I think, although I like the aggressive mindset of almost resembling like a Cincinnati Bengals situation, where it's like T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Jamar Chase, like the list just goes on and on with great talented wide receivers that you envision playing for your franchise for a long time, and your just defenses are in constant fear. Who's the ball going to go to? All three of these guys could really hurt the defense. Although I like that, I just don't know if the Jets are in the position to, you know, enter the 2023 season with massive multiple question marks throughout the trenches. So anyway, let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, go Jets.